they agreed. And what was stated to Sky TV reporter was when Searl's got his team together and ready to go, he would be interested in the IGV, as we call it now. But unfortunately, after that massive robbery back there in 2003, he heard about it and realized right away that at my age, to stay to have, no way would you be able to train another team of people to understand and construct this technology. So he then went and backed the spacecraft, because he couldn't see no other choice. But unfortunately, he had some mishap on that one, which would never happen on this system. But having made his commitment now he cannot really change it to this. But we did give an open letter on the internet for all to see. There's the front door. He's always welcome to come through it to discuss business, honest business.
Are there any other things that you would like to share with us today, John?
Well, I'd like to talk to the president eye to eye. And I think in 30 minutes I could convert him to a much better life, a better technology that he is backing at this time.
I think in 30 minutes you could convince him, but I think the question would be who he reports to. Who he reports to is the problem.
Yes, that always will be a problem, I think, because greed steps in so quick when it looks like a golden egg about that they want to own it.
I have one scientific question that I want to ask you, even though I'm not at your level of understanding. Your technology, is it a new science? Is it a new physics?
It's a new window that's opening in the scientific domain, a window that has no limit to it. It is there with, well, man will be able to go anywhere in space. Of course, the problem is for man to go to Venus and beyond. It's, of course, food, water, oxygen, waste products to deal with. Water system is solved. That's not a problem in the IGV. The oxygen is not a problem. But what will be the problem is called food. How do you get food to keep them going? The engineers, the experts who will carry out the research studies and test and pass information back to Earth and build up the history of what Mars was actually like in the past, so we get a picture of how the Earth will go. The other thing is, too, you can't go to Mars for just 3-day or 5-day stay. That's not economic. You've got to go there with a workforce, and you've got to really work. And it's the most hostile place to go. And you really do need proper system, heating, important. And you've got to have it. There are no houses. There's no toilet system, no water, no food. And we have to solve the food problem. The rest is simple. It's not such a problem. But food will be the biggest problem of all to solve. And until we solve that issue, I don't think man will be going to Mars for some time yet.
Do you think that there's two parallel space programs? Some people assert that there's two separate space programs. There's a secret space program that has been operating before the, quote, official one. You know, it's kind of like how black budgets fund projects that the public is not supposed to know about, you know, in a national security agency culture.
Well, first of all, nationally, if you're going to try a new system, which could be possible, an atomic power engine, to be able to get them to Mars without having to worry about any fuel system, and then back again without problems. That's but it's solving their long journey they got to make, the time factor getting there back. I got to look at it a different way. I got to look at it, on a commercial basis, I need to get to Mars in 2 months flat, regardless where Mars is to planet Earth on the day of departure. It must be 2 months, because otherwise, economically, it wouldn't be worth it. And certainly is, we have that food problem. Everything else, from what I can see from the research, is no longer a problem. The craft is sound, the craft will do it, and that's perfect. The internal will be perfect for the crew, the workforce that would have to make that trip. It's just that one big problem. The other thing is what people forget. When you go to Mars, you can't ring up Earth to send an ambulance to collect the man because he's broken his leg. That has to be dealt on board hospital. And all the means to deal with broken bones or injuries must be able to be done on board. Any sickness that occurs must be able to be coped with on board. There is no asking the Earth for help.
When you created the craft that was flying, and you really defied transportation technology by creating those craft that obviously were generating their own energy to fly, you were coming up with a new paradigm and a new structure for transportation as well.
That's it, yes. Rails, in fact, when the European project was going, I was trying to get them to use SEG to power those trains. But of course, they already set their project on normal energy supplies. That is, electric cables for the power of that. And they spent millions of invested in this infrastructure that, to my mind, wasn't needed. The SEGs would power those trains at the same speed with no problem. And without the problem to have to keep stopping halfway through the shallow tunnel to change the power system from overhead to ground rail system, which is generally usually south of England. And this, to me, is a terrible waste of money on putting in such infrastructure that wasn't really needed.
I have a question about this being used for boats, too. Ships and cruise lines who want to save money not using gasoline. Wouldn't that be great? Airplanes?
It would. I must say, there is no reason for gasoline. There's really no reason for anything that actually pollutes the atmosphere. None whatsoever. Not today, because the means to make a cleaner world is here. And only people making vast money in what's here don't want to lose out by finding they've got to close down. That has always been a problem over the centuries. When new technology come in, the old technology fight hard to stop it. And they don't care how they do it.
There was a very popular teacher and author who was also managed the Harvard Business Review named Theodore Levitt. And he wrote a brilliant book called The Marketing Imagination. And he shared this interesting story. At the time when new transportation was needed, the railroad industry perceived themselves to be in the railroad industry. And so because the way they perceived themselves, they were not open to new avenues of transportation that they could be involved in and be a player in. They didn't see themselves to be in the transportation industry. They were railroad-oriented only. They could have been part of new transportation technology, but because of their view on what business they were in, that opportunity didn't knock at their door, wasn't available to them. And I think it's true in what you're doing, that many of the industries see themselves in a narrow way. They could be players and participants and leaders with you in this new energy technology. But their whole view of success and their whole view of accomplishment, their paradigm would need to change to be part of it. And that's really what we're dealing with. So I really think what you have to offer is so huge because it not only is an advantage